All right, let's get right into it. Today, we are digging into some pretty explosive commentary surrounding the Star Wars show, The Acolyte. The central claim that a plan was in motion that was so controversial, it had to be stopped at the very last second. Okay, so this is the huge question at the center of this whole thing. And we're not just talking about a bad storyline or a character people didn't like. No, the allegation here is that there was a plan that could have fundamentally shattered the Star Wars timeline as we all know it, and that it was only stopped right at the 11th hour. So here's the bombshell. The claim isn't that the creators just had a change of heart. It's that the top brass at Disney, corporate itself, had to step in and put a stop to a massive, controversial retcon. You know, a retcon, that's when they go back and change stuff that was already set in stone. And this one was apparently a biggie, planned for The Acolyte. So what exactly was this plan? You know, the one that supposedly needed the big bosses to step in? Well, according to the commentary we're looking at, it all comes down to one really mysterious new character. Okay, let's talk about the Stranger. This is the character that this whole reported mess revolves around. The big idea, or so the story goes, was to give him this secret backstory that would just turn everything we know about Sith history completely on its head, linking him right back to the prequel era in a really disruptive way. So here's how the alleged plan was supposed to go down, step by step. Step 1, the Stranger. Turns out he's the first ever Knight of Ren. Okay, interesting. Step 2, his actual name is Ren. A little on the nose, but fine. But then, step 3, that's where things get wild. They were going to connect him directly to Darth Plagueis. Yeah, that Plagueis, Palpatine's old master. And if that happened, well, that changes the entire story of Emperor Palpatine. And yeah, this quote pretty much sums up how a lot of people felt about this idea. This wasn't just some tiny little change. It would totally mess with the main story. I mean, think about it. Palpatine's whole deal is that he took out his master, Plagueis, all by himself to become the one and only Dark Lord of the Sith. If you suddenly throw a third person into that mix, it kind of breaks the whole thing. Okay, so why would they slam the brakes on this whole thing? Well, according to the reporting, it wasn't just some argument in a writer's room. It was because of how the show was actually doing out here, in the real world, with all of you. So what went so wrong? Well, the reports point to this huge wave of criticism. It sounds like the show just didn't land with almost anybody. We're not just talking about a lack of fans, but claims that it was actively making people mad, by trying to downplay Anakin's whole Chosen One storyline. There were even accusations that its message was immoral, and this one has got a sting for a serious drama, that it was unintentionally hilarious. And wow, this quote really says it all, doesn't it? This goes way beyond just not liking a show or thinking it was a little boring. This is about a deep, really powerful, and angry reaction from viewers to what was happening on screen. So all that backlash, well, the story goes that it was the final straw. The thing that finally made Disney step in, leading to what's being described as a major corporate pivot away from the whole direction Lucasfilm was headed. And here's the key takeaway from the allegations. The Acolyte's reception was apparently so bad it acted as a great big wake-up call for the higher-ups at Disney. It was like a giant flashing red light telling them that whatever Lucasfilm was doing just wasn't working, and they needed to fix it fast. And this really lays out the two sides of the story like a tug of war. On one side, you've got the creative plan, right? The High Republic was this huge thing, and the Acolyte was supposed to be its big centerpiece. But then on the other side, you have the alleged reality. Corporate Disney coming down with a heavy hand and a pretty simple order. Stop everything, we're changing course now. And the fallout from this alleged pivot? Apparently, it was huge and it was fast. We're talking about way more than just one TV show. The reports claim future projects got put on ice. Book series were stopped in their tracks. Even the Star Wars Insider magazine, which has been around forever, got the axe. And the biggest one, the claim that the whole High Republic story would be cut short, never even making it to its planned Phase 4. All right, so after all of that, what happens next? This is where things get really interesting and really, really uncertain for the galaxy far, far away. So what's the end result of all this reported chaos? Well, to put it in Star Wars terms, the claim is that there's been a shift in the Force, and it's palpable, something you can actually feel. The idea is that the direction at Lucasfilm has fundamentally changed behind the scenes, and people are starting to notice. But here is the really crazy part of this whole story. Even though the old plan was supposedly stopped dead in its tracks, there's apparently no new plan to take its place. The allegation is that the whole intervention was so sudden that now nobody seems to know what's next for Star Wars. It's just a big question mark. And that's where this all leaves us. If you believe these reports, Disney might have saved Star Wars from one specific controversial plan, but in its place is a void. What comes next is the biggest mystery in the galaxy, because for right now, the future of Star Wars is a completely blank page.